Good evening and welcome to the campus of the University of Pikeville, where this evening we induct 12 individuals into our Distinguished Educators Hall of Fame. We began this program in 2010, and each year we have honored various individuals who have devoted their lives to the lives of others. They have served in the field of education and have contributed a great deal to our culture and to our community. 130 years ago, the first students were welcomed on this campus. It was September the 16th of 1889 when 125 students entered the doors of the Academy building on College Street. Can you imagine the excitement that morning, not only of those students, but those teachers? And I'm sure the night before, very few of them slept. They were so excited to start school the next morning. So for 130 years, the University of Pikeville has a tradition of training educators and to be a beacon in this region for the field of education. So tonight, we are especially happy to honor these 12 individuals that you'll be meeting in just a few moments. On the platform tonight, on the stage, I'd like to introduce, on the far end, Governor Paul Patton, former governor of Kentucky, and the chancellor of the University of Pikeville. Next to Governor Patton is Dr. Lori Worth, university provost. And Dr. Burton Webb, university president. I'm Howard Roberts, and I'm glad you are here. Dr. Worth will now deliver the invocation.
Thank you, Howard. Good evening. Let's bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather this evening. Thank you for the individuals on stage as we honor their life, their commitment, and their contribution to the young lives. Thank you for family and friends who are here today who've supported their career pathway, the times that they were gone, the times that they were grading, project work with kids, and giving back to this community. We thank you for the opportunity to honor them this evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
Well, since Dr. Roberts told you what all the rest of us do, I feel like I should probably say what he does around this place. Dr. Howard Roberts is the dean of our Coleman College of Business, and it's, how many years have you been doing this, Howard? All but one since 2010. So please welcome Dr. Howard Roberts, dean of the School of Business. You know, this is one of my favorite events every year because teachers have such a profound impact on all of us, and all of the things that we do, I think, would not happen were it not for people who are willing to sacrifice of themselves and their time and their lives to invest in us and to bring us to this place, wherever this place happens to be for each one of us. For me, my own experience was shaped dramatically by a woman whose name was Mrs. Fern Tolan. Fern was my 5th grade teacher, and I've told this story many times in a lot of different contexts. I had a very rough 4th grade year. I changed schools in the middle of my 4th grade year and ended up in a classroom where the teacher was not very good. Probably because I was the last one to come in. They had this classroom that didn't have enough students, and I got stuck in there. And she just didn't give any of her students a very good experience. Consequently, you have a bright kid who's highly verbal in the back of a classroom and very active, getting into a lot of trouble. And I ended up in my 5th grade class, and I don't think anybody really expected much of anything except for Fern. And Mrs. Tolan was at the front of that classroom and absolutely captivated my attention from the very first day that I was in class. And I remember feeling that sense of momentum shift in my life where all of a sudden I went from being a distraction to being a student who actually cared about learning. And that was enormous for me. But Fern's influence on my life actually didn't stop there. I went through school, of course, high school and then college, decided to pursue a graduate education in medical immunology of all things. And several years later, I was teaching in a small liberal arts college in Marion, Indiana, which was 4 hours from where I grew up. Surprise of no surprises, on Grandparents' Day, my classroom is full of students and full of their grandparents in the back 2 rows, and who should walk in but Fern Tolan? She walked into the back of the classroom, and she came up to me just before class started, and she said, I just wanted to tell you, I know that your grandmother has passed away, and you need someone here for you, and I'm here for you. And for the next 6 years, while her health was good, she came and sat in the back of that classroom every day on Grandparents' Day, because she always believed that that investment in students doesn't stop. Fern's gone now, but her legacy lives on in my life, and I get the opportunity to stand every year in this place and tell just a little bit of that story. And so this evening, that's what we'd like to do for these wonderful ladies and gentlemen who are seated behind us. We want to tell just a little bit of the story, we want to give them a chance to speak, and we want to recognize them for their wonderful work. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Dr. Roberts?
The individuals being honored this evening are featured in your program, so please read the biographical and professional education material that is there for you. Our first individual being honored this evening is Glenda Adkins. Ms. Adkins is in her 30th year of teaching at Pikeville Independent School System. She earned a bachelor's degree from Pikeville College, a master's degree, rank 1, and instructional leadership degree from Moorhead State University. She is the daughter of 2 educators, and in fact, her father, Chester Bailey, was in the first class of those being inducted into the University of Pikeville Distinguished Educators Hall of Fame. So please welcome to the podium, Glenda Adkins.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and I can't really even believe that they would even pick me. But I know that I'm doing what I'm meant to do, and I know that God placed me exactly where I needed to be growing up. He put me in the best school system. I'm so proud to be a part of Pikeville Independent School System, and the teachers that were there, they really modeled and they molded me, and they made me see what good teaching looked like. And I know he put me here at Pikeville College, UPIKE, and I'm so thankful for UPIKE and what you all have done for me. And I still remember walking through the halls, and I will never forget Carol Baker and Jerry Waddell and what they meant to me and how they helped to mold me. And I see the new education students that are coming out, and I'm thinking, wow, the new education department that you have is second to none. And I just applaud you for what you are producing here and what you are molding here. And I just want to say, when I think of UPIKE, I think of a city on a hill. And I think that no matter what happens, your light will never be hidden, because you shine through all your students and all your professors and all your graduates. And I'm just so thankful and so humbled to be a part of this institution and to receive this award. Thank you.
Greg Allen is a graduate of Pikeville College and has completed graduate work at the University of Kentucky and Western Kentucky University. He has served as a dual credit professor, a principal, and as a teacher. Currently, he is teaching chemistry at Russell County High School and he is active in his community and is highly recognized in education circles. Please welcome Greg Allen.
Good evening. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you tonight. And just seeing the wall for the very first time, I'll admit to you, it was very humbling, very emotional, in fact, because I have many fond years being at UPIKE. I and my wife, Dawn, we graduated here together, and I'm a science teacher. And so here on this hill, I was affected by two wonderful people, and that was Mr. Glenn Brown and Dr. Lois Isham. And I don't know if any of you remember. I know there's some on the stage that remember them. But to see their names first up on the wall outside, and then to see my name down below, it's quite humbling. I have enjoyed my teaching tremendously. Like Glenda said, I know that God has gifted me, and I give Him all praise and glory. Just a side note, Glenda and I began school together in first grade at Pikeville Elementary School, and we went all through elementary and middle school and graduated high school together. And our names are together outside on the wall. So it's the first time I've seen Glenda since, well, the year we graduated. But just a final note, I wouldn't be who I am today or where I am today without just the encouragement and the love of my wife, Dawn. And I just thank you so much, Dawn, and I love you. Thank you. Thank you, UPIKE.
Ruth Bevins has spent her career as an advocate for those students who have special needs, and she has been highly regarded in that field. She graduated from Pikeville College and earned a master's degree in rank 1 from Morehead State University. After spending a career in various roles, she served as the director of the Homebound program. She was an adjunct professor for Morehead State University. She was a guidance counselor for the Upward Bound program at UPIKE. She retired as the director of special education for the Pikeville Independent School System. Please welcome Ruth Bevins.
Words cannot express how humbled and grateful I am for such a position as this. I feel so unworthy, but I believe it's a direction from God. When I started first grade, they didn't let our differently abled students go to school. And some brave mother decided to bring a child that had Down syndrome. And the teacher went from table to table to table saying, "Do you care if Bobby sits with you?" And I was the only one in that class that didn't care for Bobby to sit with me. And I worked with him and kept him at my side for about 3 weeks. And then one day Bobby didn't show up. And I asked the teacher, was Bobby sick? And she said, "No, Bobby can't come to school anymore, and you don't need to worry about him." And I never could understand why Bobby couldn't come back to school anymore. So I didn't, though, leave high school and go to college. I left high school and went directly to work because of our financial status in our family. I'm humbled to say that, we were raised pretty poor. I had an evangelist preacher for a father that lived on free will offerings. So I went to work as a dental assistant, and I thought that's my career, and I spent 7 years there. Till a mother came in, and the dentist that I worked for said, why are we having so many special needs children? Only they didn't call them that back then. They used the R word. And she said, you're not. There's no more than normal. She said, we come here because of her. And she looked at me and she said, Ruth, you've got to go back to school and get your degree in special education. And I thought, you know, that's right. That's what God wants me to do. That's what God has always wanted me to do. And so I did. And still at that time, I'm about to tell my age, special education was not in the regular classroom. I started my teaching career in the old Mary Calvert School for our differently abled students. My first classroom had 21 students from the age of 3 to 52. And I loved that school, but I kept praying every day, God, please let there be a time when they can go to regular school. And we got it. We accomplished it. And that's where I stayed for my whole teaching career, with the exceptions of leaving Mary Calvert, going through Mountain Comprehensive Care preschool program, and then up here to Pikeville College for their UPIKE Upward Bound program, needing somebody to be with those that are differently able. I've been in that field for 34 years, and that's what I feel like God sent me to do, and I hope I didn't disappoint him. And I hope I haven't disappointed my family. I love my husband for eating the pork and beans and stuff that it took him. He thought I never would graduate, but I finally did. So I love all of you, and thank you, all my friends and family that showed up. Thank all of you.
Freddie Bowling currently serves as the Assistant Superintendent of the Pike County School District. He earned a bachelor's degree from Pikeville College, a master's degree, rank 1, and superintendent certification from Morehead State University. He has worked as a special education teacher and as a principal, as well as a school administrator. During his tenure at Pike County Schools, the school system was named a distinguished school district performing in the 95th percentile. Congratulations to Freddie Bowling.
First, I'd like to thank President Webb, Mr. Patton, and the University of Pikeville for honoring educators. And secondly, I'd like to congratulate my colleagues on stage for achieving such a distinguished and prestigious recognition. So congratulations to them. I think back about my time in education as a student. I was blessed. I really had some wonderful teachers that really made a profound impact on my life. And when I think about my time here on the Hill as a student back in 1989, or should I say just a few years ago, it's 30 years ago, I think about people like Carol Baker, who's in the audience, was one of my favorite professors. People like Carol Grizzard, who taught religion. If you had her class, it was tough, if you recall. People like Nancy Cade, John Rupley. All those people laid a foundation for us so that we could go forth and hopefully serve kids one of these days. And it's not just teachers we learn from. We learn from colleagues. There are some colleagues in this room like Kelly Thompson, Coletta Parsley, David Sloan. By the way, President, I want to just comment on your education department. With those people in charge and many like them, you are truly turning out kids, young men and women who can come forth and immediately serve kids at a high level. So we certainly appreciate that. In closing, like Mr. Allen said, this is both humbling and honoring, and I appreciate the college and those that felt us worthy. So thank you.
Lily Chafin served in the school system for 28 years as a teacher and a librarian. She gave numerous lectures and writing workshops at universities and colleges throughout the region, including Pikeville College, Eastern Kentucky University, the University of Kentucky, and Morehead State University. She was a well-respected writer whose work was featured in the New York Times and other publications. She served as the poetry editor of the Pikeville College Literary Magazine. She was published in more than 300 magazines, newspapers, textbooks, and anthologies, and published books of her own. She was honored with an honorary doctorate degree from Pikeville College and from Eastern Kentucky University. She was also nominated for a Pulitzer Prize in Poetry and was a poet laureate for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Mrs. Chafin is being honored posthumously tonight, and her son, Tom Chafin, will receive her honor. Tom Chafin.
See if I can get through this. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, faculty, alumni, and students. I'm Tom Chafin, son of Lily D. Chafin, and I'm a graduate of Pikeville College in 1970. I am very happy to be here for her induction into the Distinguished Educators Hall of Fame. The program presents a list of various accomplishments she earned throughout her career, but it doesn't tell you the struggle she endured to achieve these goals. Much of this information is from her book, A World of Books, published in 1971, and stories that she handed down to me. She was raised on Brushy Creek in Pike County, Kentucky. She went to a one-room school with nearly 80 students and one teacher. Her desire to learn was so great that she went to the 8th grade twice because there was no transportation to Johns Creek High School at that time. Eventually, she and a few friends persuaded someone to drive them 6 miles to the nearest bus stop and pick them up at day's end so that she could continue her education at Johns Creek. In 1939, at the age of 14, she began high school. Transportation to and from high school was very hard to maintain for her, and she had to quit high school at the end of her junior year in 1941. Later that year, she married and gave birth to 2 children, Ronald in 1942 and Rita in 1943. At this point, you would think the story is over. Kids, married, but no. Both children died in a tragic house fire in 1945. She returned to high school in 1946 and graduated at the age of 22 in 1947 as valedictorian of her class. She signed up for summer school at Pikeville Junior College at that time and also applied for a teaching job in Pike County. She got 6 hours credit and began teaching. At this point, she became intent in her writing on writing stories that the students could relate to. Most stories were of middle-class people. Where she was teaching, these students needed to hear stories of people just like them, people in need with troubles and how they could succeed. In 1948, when I was born, she took time off from teaching in college. In 1950, she returned to teaching and resumed her college education, taking Saturday classes in summer school. She began attending some writers' meetings in Pikeville that she had heard about. In 1952, she had her first work published in the Instructor magazine. When I was 6 years old, I began coming to Pikeville College. Didn't have a babysitter. She brought me on Saturdays for classes, set me on the front steps up there of the administration building, and told me not to leave for any reason. and I did as I was told. She could be very persuasive. She graduated with her BS degree from Pikeville College in 1958 and received her master's degree in 1972 from Eastern Kentucky University. A Doctor of Letters from Pikeville College was received in 1974. When my father's health deteriorated in 1978, she was forced to retire, but she continued to write and publish until the late 1980s. She spent the rest of her life reading and spreading her knowledge to all. Mother passed away in 1993, and although her physical body is no longer with us, I feel her presence today as she beams proudly at the honor bestowed on her by her beloved Pikeville College. Thank you.
Sandra Clevenger earned a bachelor's degree from Pikeville College and a master's degree from Morehead State University. She taught 30 years as a teacher at Elkhorn City Elementary. After teaching the second and third grade for many years, she also implemented a follow-through classroom to provide supplemental learning to students. After retirement, she returned to school to volunteer in the school library. She's remained active in the school and also in her church. Congratulations, Sandra Clevenger.
Thanks to all of those who nominated me. I certainly do appreciate it. I was very surprised. Thank you. I'm humbled and honored.
Marcy Ward Hanson earned a bachelor's degree in English education and a minor in journalism, radio, and television broadcasting, and a fifth-year certification in secondary education from Morehead State University. She taught for 26 years in Martin County, and in addition to teaching, she served as the men's golf coach, yearbook advisor, newspaper editor, and worked with the JAG program. She has been honored by various educational agencies throughout the years and is a highly respected Martin County educator. Congratulations.
Good evening. In 1985, I graduated from Sheldon Clark High School with a clear plan as to what my future career would be. I would get a degree in television broadcasting and be the anchor for the NBC Nightly News. I honestly cannot remember a time growing up when this wasn't my plan. In college, however, I was surprised to find there were elements of this major that I just didn't really like. I decided to change my major to journalism, and then to art, and then back to journalism once again. My dad was not, he was not a fan of my indecisiveness. And as you can imagine, told me he thought I should get a teaching degree in English. But that was not my plan. See, I come from a family of teachers. My mom and dad were teachers. My grandmother was a teacher. My 3 uncles, 2 aunts, and a cousin are teachers. So it is a field I know very well. Dad tried to talk me into it quite vigorously, but I kept telling him I wanted to go into journalism so that I could change the world. Dad said, "You will be a great teacher, and that is how you will change the world." I was not so easily convinced. Finally, he said, "Well, Marcy, you can get a degree in whatever you want as long as you can pay for it. But while I'm paying for it, you're going to have to get that degree in education." So I did. And to my surprise, I loved it. It was the career, the way of life for which I had been so desperately searching. Every day that I walked into my classroom and looked into the faces of my students, I knew I had found the place that I truly belonged. My dad knew what I needed long before I did. 25 years ago, my principal at the time asked if I would be interested in taking the helm of a new school-to-work program called Jobs for America's Graduates. I gladly accepted and have never looked back. JAG gave me the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of my students, to create leaders and team workers, to open their eyes to a life of positivity in a world that is often lacking. In the middle of my journey, I also took on the role of journalism teacher and saw my early career plans come full circle. Along the way, I have also learned some hard truths, that I couldn't save every child, but as my mom always reminded me, that I might make them want more for their children because of the lessons that they learned in my class, and she was right. I learned that every child needs to feel like they are important in this world, and that it was my job to make sure that they knew that, and to never allow a student to put forth less than their best effort. It's okay to fail, but it isn't okay to give less than your very best in everything you do. For 26 years, I have dedicated myself to my school, my students, and my community, and have witnessed the power of education change the lives of my students forever. I am so honored to be inducted into the University of Pikeville's Distinguished Educator Hall of Fame, and even more honored that a former student believed me worthy of this prestigious recognition. I am so thankful to my mom and dad who reminded me every single day that I could do anything that I set my mind to my husband who has loved me and supported me every step of the way, and my sons who always take whatever crazy idea I challenge them to do, they're up for it. To my extended family who is always my biggest cheerleaders, my JAG family who is incredible, and to my friends and colleagues in Martin County, the place on this earth that I love most of all. The biggest thank you goes out to my precious students, some of whom I see out in this audience today. Everything they do, every success they achieve. They knew I would do this. Everything they do, every success they achieve reminds me that it wasn't I who changed their lives, but they who changed mine. And no, I'm not broadcasting the news on television every night, but I'm still doing my part to change the world one student at a time.
Mary McLeod graduated from Pikeville College and earned a master's degree and a rank 1 from Morehead State University. She worked as a teacher and a literacy consultant, and she enjoyed the role as being a mentor to provide support for school administrators and teachers so that they could learn best practices and research-based strategies to improve literacy instruction. She is active in her community and enjoyed her career in teaching. Please congratulate Mary McLeod.
When I first started at Pikeville College, teaching wasn't my career choice. Nursing was. I enjoyed nursing. I thought that was going to be the way it was. And then, of course, life changes, things change. And I came back 9 years later, a little older, 2 kids, a husband who encouraged me to come back and get my teaching degree. I have other siblings who are teachers, and they were my role models. My older brother and my older sister were the trailblazers in our family. My mom and dad always valued higher education, even though they were limited as to the education that they perceived. My dad died when I was a senior in high school, so some of my accomplishments he never got to see. He wanted me to be salutatorian or valedictorian of our class. I was co-salutatorian. So again, my mom was my cheerleader. She guided me. She was supportive of me when I decided to come back to school. Kelly, my son, was my main reason for coming back to school. He is autistic, and he has been my greatest student and has been my greatest teacher. So whenever I came here, it was all the places you'll go. I didn't think I was going to go anywhere except in that classroom, working with kids who needed me. And then the opportunity came to become a literacy consultant. I didn't know what that was, but I know I needed those skills and so that I could help other students. That was my plan. And these 14 years I've spent all over 15 school districts in the state of Kentucky. I've worked with teachers who absolutely have touched kids and made a big difference. I have enjoyed that role. I've enjoyed my nursing role, and I enjoy my life now as wife and mother to my 2 kids. So I am honored and humbled by this degree. Thank you.
Tanya Mullins earned a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a certification as a literacy specialist from Morehead State University. She also earned a Rank 1 certification from Union College. She served as a teacher for many years and had great experience as a writing consultant and open response and assessment coach. It was during this time she provided professional development training and shared strategies and improvements for student progress scores. She served with the Kentucky Department of Education and West Ed Agency on several committees where she was able to lend her experience and expertise to students across the Commonwealth. Please join me in welcoming Tanya Mullins to the stage.
What a beautiful day. I'm very humbled by this opportunity to speak to you, but I'm more humbled that I'm publicly able to thank my Lord for this opportunity. My God is so good. This wonderful recognition, well, is not just for me, but it's for those that shared their lives with me through the years and their families, and especially their minds. I might have corrupted one or two, right, Bruce? First of all, I'd like to thank my family. I lost my mother at a young age, but I had brothers and sisters that have stood with me through thick and thin. And then I'm going to talk about my school. I didn't go to Pikeville. I didn't go to Pike Central or Pike County. I was from Magoffin County, but I was hired in Johnson County where I spent 30 years. And it was there in Johnson County that I met some of the very best friends I would ever have. Especially, for example, Miss Rouse, who's also being inducted tonight, she's sitting back here beside me, and we've shared classrooms side by side for the last, 30 years. She was my sub when I was pregnant. And so now we're like Pink Floyd, another brick in the wall. And I'm honored by that. Another friend is here, Miss Anita Sturgill, and she and I were together probably 27 years ago today when I married my first husband. She was there with me. I taught my kids through the years about schematic proficiency, which is simply background knowledge, the value of your background knowledge. And that's what I want to talk to you about. It's not the education that I received, the degrees that I received, or the awards that I've received, but it's for the little people. Those little people in my life shaped me into who I am, and they deserve this award, not me. This is for the child who once cut her arms, but carved a place in my heart. This is for the beautiful girl with unkempt hair who was spending time in Charter Ridge, just trying to fit in. The night that I left her there nearly shattered my spirit. And this is for the little first grader. He didn't know which bad word had the F in it. And another one who had to learn that it wasn't normal to poop naked like a frog at school. This is for the hungry child that many times I fed. This is for the fed child that many times fed me. This is for the kids who convinced me that cotton candy suckers could turn on lights in an African orphanage in Kenya, and they did. And this is for sidewalk prophets who played a flute or a guitar on the streets of Pikeville to get attention so they could take an old camper and turn it into a mobile homeless shelter. This is for the stick horse riders and the Santa Claus believers and those who had true vision of hope. They painted a masterpiece in my heart, and no gold or silver or purchased coins that I've collected through this journey can replace that. Let me say that I am humbled, and I thank you so much for this award, but more so for the days that I spent with those children. Thank you.
Annette Mullins Rouse spent 20 years at Central Elementary in Johnson County. She was the founding member of the school's annual poetry festival. She was recognized for her accomplishments by the National Honor Roll, Outstanding American Teacher, American National Educator, and she has been presented with the Nikon Teacher Award. As a summa cum laude graduate of Pikeville College, she received the Pikeville College Rediford Dameron Award for teaching excellence. She has spent a great deal of her time in her community serving her church and participates in the homeless shelter outreach program in Eastern Kentucky. Please congratulate Annette Mullins Rouse.
Like all of us here tonight, I am humbled and honored to be an inductee and to be among these past Hall of Fame members and to be one of this group tonight. I was a 1993 summa cum laude graduate of what was then Pikeville College and then the recipient of the Redford Dameron Award. I did go on to get my master's in rank 1. It was here that I received my teacher education that was invaluable in preparing me for what I believe is the most critical of professions. I was not the traditional student. I was older, married, had a young son, and that created its own set of challenges. But with the support of my family, I was able to succeed and to reach my lifelong goal of becoming a teacher. Throughout my teaching career, my constant prayer was to have a positive impact on my students, to be guided with wisdom, to have kindness, discipline, and yet have compassion, so that I could help in preparing them for their futures. I wanted to provide my students with opportunities so that they could become successful. I loved teaching. As a result of this induction notice, I found myself remembering and reflecting about my time here at what was then Pikeville College. I made some lasting friendships. I was academically challenged. I was accepted, and I found sources of inspiration through many of my class professors. I discovered early on in an education class that teachers wear many hats, and you do much more than present lessons. And this was made clear to me by Professor Elizabeth Dowdy, who challenged and had high expectations that I later tried to apply to my own teaching. I remember Dr. Nancy Cade, who taught me the importance of knowing history and how she often injected humor to engage us and to help us remember the material. I remember the teaching duo, the Carpenters. They demonstrated kindness and encouragement. They built confidence in students' self-esteem. And it was from professors such as these that I tried to emulate and to use some of their strategies and some of their values in my own teaching career. In remembering these things, I want to share with all of you what I've always known and am most thankful for, and that is God and my family. I thank my husband, my son and daughter, and I appreciate their sacrifices, for there were many. I give credit, and I truly have never had enough words for my sister, Sheila Mullins Anderson, and her husband, Mike Anderson. He himself is a teacher, still in the classroom after more than 50 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a teacher. Together, they have encouraged, they have helped, they have supported me with love, and without them, I truly would not be here this evening, and the successes that I have had, I credit to them. My profession has been more than rewarding. It has created lasting memories and friendships, more like family. I now enjoy retirement from teaching 5th and 6th grade at Central Elementary in Johnson County. Much of my time is now devoted to teaching and enjoying my grandson and watching him grow and learn. The great magnitude of this evening has allowed me to come back full circle to the University of Pikeville, where my dreams of teaching began. In closing, I again thank you for this wonderful honor. And I would like to leave you with a quote from one of my favorites, Ralph Waldo Emerson. "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." Thank you for allowing me to leave my trail that started here.
Alan Siegel received his bachelor's degree in music education from Morehead State University and had a career of 37 years serving as a band director and music teacher in Johnson County. He retired but continues to volunteer in his community and serving the Johnson County Animal Shelter. Mr. Siegel is not able to be with us this evening, but please give him a round of applause for his accomplishments. Danny Sturgill received his bachelor's degree from Alice Lloyd College and completed graduate work at Pikeville College and Morehead State University. For 24 years, he taught math, science, chemistry, and physics. He was recognized as the outstanding chemistry teacher by the University of Pikeville, the Educator of the Year by Teen Incorporated. He's the recipient of the Bettinger Chemistry Award, the George Alden Award for Academic Excellence, as well as numerous awards by the Governor's Scholars Outstanding Educator Award. Please congratulate Mr. Sturgill.
Well, first of all, I consider myself a very blessed individual. Extremely, I don't hardly know what to say. I see some people in the audience I've worked with before. Some of you, and when I worked with Pikeville here at Upward Bound, really enjoyed it. But like I say, I'm very blessed. I was fortunate to have the support of my family when I went back to school. Like Annette, I'm kind of an atypical student. When I went back, I was 39 years old. I was a college dropout, and I went back and got my degree. And I had my support of my family 100%, and I really appreciate that. A common thing a link that I think that all of us up here share is that each of us, I think all of us, had outstanding instructors when we were going to school. I think we can all say that. I did. I had the most amazing instructors, and they gave me a foundation that it was just hard to beat. They gave me a wonderful foundation in my chosen field. When I think of another way that I'm fortunate, it would be the students. You know, a good student can make you look good. And I was extremely fortunate to have had some absolutely outstanding students, a lot of those. And you know, the one thing that I would tell them when each of them would come back, I've had them to email me, stop by and tell me some of their accomplishments that they've had, their success stories. And the one thing I always told them, I said, you know, all I do is throw it out there. You're either a sponge or you're plastic. And I consider myself very fortunate to have taught a lot of sponges. Thank you.
Let's give another round of applause to these inductees, please. We're grateful to these individuals and to all teachers and those who have devoted their lives to education, because they truly have made a difference. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we would like to welcome Governor Patton to the podium to share a little wisdom with us and to give us some closing remarks. Governor Paul Patton.
Let me offer my congratulations to these outstanding representatives of the education profession, and thank you all for attending tonight and honoring them. Let me apologize for my informal dress. Nobody bothered to tell me that I was on the program. I just came to offer my congratulations and honor to these outstanding individuals and to this important profession. Education was the first mission of the University of Pikeville College. And it was the first professional degree that we've offered. It is our responsibility. I noticed that about over 2/3 of these recipients are graduates from Pikeville College. And that demonstrates our long-term commitment to that profession of education. It is absolutely the most important thing that we can do. Now, we have moved on to provide other needs for the region. We have educated doctors, and we are educating optometrists and nurses and business people and criminal justice and social services and many other fields. But education remains our most important focus because it is the most important function of our society. Teachers are more important as a group than governors or legislators or many other professions, because as a Chinese philosopher once observed, if any society fails to pass on the accumulated knowledge of the ages to its generations, it will fail. And that's happened more than once in the history of the world. But we're committed here at the University of Pikeville that that will not happen to the people of Eastern Kentucky. That has been our mission, to provide for education for our children for many, many years. And so let me offer my congratulations again to all of these individuals, but more importantly, to the entire profession. My father started life as a one-room school teacher in Lawrence County. And while he moved on to other professions, he remained a teacher all of his life. And he instilled in me and my two sisters the importance of education. And we've taken advantage of that opportunity, and it has served us well. So again, my congratulations to these individuals. thank you for being here. And let me invite you to, I think we have some hors d'oeuvres outside, and let me invite you to stay around, become more acquainted with some of these individuals, and express to them your appreciation for their service. Thank you. Good night. Join us.